Hi Halloweenies, I'm Ozzy the Horror Cub. Take a trip with me to Haddonfield Memorial Hospital because it's time to review Halloween 2. Let's get into it. That's right, today we're going to be reviewing Halloween 2 from 1981, directed by Rick Rosenthal and written by John Carpenter and Deborah Hill. This film would see Michael Myers come back to back with Laurie Strode, and it would be revealed that this was a sibling connection and that Laurie Strode was his long-lost sister. Are you a fan of Michael Myers and Laurie Strode being related? Or are you more a fan of John Carpenter's original approach to Halloween that it was supposed to be a standalone film? Regardless, it's what happened. Halloween 2 brings together the cast of the original Halloween 1978. Characters that carry over include Dr. Loomis and Laurie Strode as their night of Halloween terror is not over. This is a direct follow-up to the 1978 film. Donald Pleasance is back as Dr. Samuel L. Loomis. Laurie Strode is back. Got Jamie Lee Curtis. She's wearing a wig, but we've got Jamie Lee Curtis. This movie was filmed 3 years after the original. However, it is a direct follow-up to the original 1978 John Carpenter classic, Halloween. As this immediately picks off from the first film, it's already my favorite sequel in the entire series. Great mask, great cinematography, great directing. I think a lot of that has to do with Dean Cundey. Dean Cundey understood the cinematography and scope of Halloween. He understood how the camera is supposed to move to tell the story, and John Carpenter understood how to frame that device. Rick Rosenthal, as a director, really does try his best to emulate John Carpenter's original style, and having Cundey still on the team helps a lot with that. This movie, especially at the start with Michael's POV shot as he's going through the alleyways, is very provocative of the first film. That's great suspense. You don't know when Michael is going to strike, and then he goes off and he kills the neighbor Alice unexpectedly, and a lot of people get really hung up on the fact that he kills Alice, but you know what? In my head, he needed a place to relax after the fact that he just got blown off a balcony by Dr. Loomis. That's right, because this is a direct continuation of the first film, open at the events of Halloween 78. Michael is getting blown off the balcony by Dr. Loomis. He shoots him 7 times in this movie. It's supposed to be 6. Michael disappears into the night, and Dr. Loomis is out to pursue him. Laurie is then brought to Haddonfield Memorial Hospital to withstand the injuries that she sustained in the previous film. I love the fact that this movie is set in a hospital. Halloween was all about the suburbs. Halloween was all about bringing the horror inward, and you only got to really see it play out within one city block, between Tommy's house and Lindsay's house. This movie, the scope is quite larger. We're now in Haddonfield Memorial Hospital. It's a dark, desolated hospital. Absolutely no one is in here. The only people that are filling it up is the cannon fodder that is the hospital staff. You've got your nurse Karen, you got nurse Jill, you got Bud, you've got Jimmy. Jimmy is the love interest in this film, and he's the one that's going to start to fall in love with Laurie Strode and try to protect her. Jimmy, all I want to know is where the hell is the coke that you promised Laurie? I love that the hospital is a character in itself in this movie too. The way that it's lit, the way that it's framed, it's simply beautiful. How Michael is stalking every single corridor. He could be anywhere. The way that the TV monitors show him walking around and stalking the hospital, it's simply chilling. This movie has great suspense. If I was to compare it to any other Halloween, it would compare identically to the original because it has that same suspension. The scene where Michael finally does track Laurie to this hospital and he's chasing her to an elevator, my heart pounds every single time. The second Dr. Loomis shows up to the hospital because it's revealed that Laurie Strode is Michael Myers' sister. That prompts another chase scene where Laurie is screaming on the pavement of the hospital, and she's screaming, "Help me!" and Dr. Loomis can't hear her. It's really impactful. The score is amazing. This is John Carpenter joined with Alan Howarth. Alan Howarth would go on to score the Halloween movies up until Halloween 6, the producer's cut. It's a great score. It's sinister. To me, it sounds like it's from an organ. It's darker, and that to me means that the movie is darker in tone. The original Halloween, time-wise, left us around 9:30 at night. This movie is carrying us past the midnight hour. We're actually getting to see November the 1st. That's actually something that I really do like about this movie, is that it shows you the carnage that Michael had throughout Haddonfield to get to the hospital. It shows you the day after, Laurie coming out of the hospital, and they're talking, you know, how many bodies are there? That's great, and that's something that I want to see in David Gordon Green's Halloween Kills, because Haddonfield Memorial is making a return. Characters in this movie, yeah, you can see that they're your typical cannon fodder. You've got the nurses that are just here for a good time. Nurse Karen is one of my favorite death sequences in the entire Halloween franchise ever. Nurse Karen is drowned in the hot tub by Michael Myers. The hot tub is turned up hot, 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 and Michael just keeps dunking her face repeatedly. She thinks it's Bud because they were looking to get a little private alone time together, but Bud is immediately taken out by by Michael Myers. She thinks it's his hand. Oh, it's probably covered in blood and sweat. I would have licked it too, but hey, that's just me. Karen's death is so amazing because there's foreshadowing at the beginning of the film of this death. At the very start of the film, she's talking about the fact that she'll never attend Halloween parties because she had to go bobbing for apples, in water no less. And as her friend's reminding her, well, you gotta use water, she hates the fact that she had to bob for apples, and ironically, what does Michael Myers do with her head? Bobs it up and down. That is great foreshadowing of events that happen later on in the film. Another event that happens later on in the film that's foreshadowed earlier is Ben Tramer. Ben Tramer is the love interest of Laurie Strode. Annie was going to try and set them up to go to the dance the next night. However, poor Ben is wearing one of the shape masks that's found at Nichols Hardware, and he's walking down the street. Dr. Loomis is assuming that this is him. He's with Sheriff Brackett. They go after him and goes on the street. A cop comes out of nowhere and just nails him. The car goes up in flames. We don't know if this is Michael Myers burning to death. We don't know if this is Ben Tramer. It's revealed later that it's Ben Tramer, but this could be anybody. I think it's hysterical that that cop did not see him coming. Like, hello, Haddonfield Police Department, you are dangerous. That 5-0 was drunk. Nurse Jill is another great death sequence in this film. The way Michael just lifts her up, oh my god. Michael is brutal in this film, and that leads me to Carnage Candy, a rule that Randy is always really supportive when it comes to sequels. You have to up the game. Now, of course, Paramount was starting to distribute the Friday the 13th movies, and they were upping the gore with every single film. Sequels weren't really a big concept at this point. John Carpenter really envisioned Halloween as a standalone film. He did not want to do a sequel. Universal and Dino De Laurentiis was pressuring him into doing this sequel. He was contractually obligated, so he went with it. And that's why around Halloween 4, he sells off his rights to the Halloween franchise because he didn't want anything to do with it past the Halloween anthology that was Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. The second that didn't go the way that they planned, making every Halloween an anthology film, they decided to sell their interest in the Halloween property and walked away. It isn't until recently with David Gordon Green's Halloween films that John Carpenter has come back as an executive producer and a composer of the music of the Halloween series. The music in this film is utterly brilliant. The fact that the opening harkens back to the original 1978 pumpkin opening. However, this time the pumpkin opens to reveal a skull. Already we're seeing that this film is going to be darker and more sinister than its predecessor. And you know what? I'm here for Michael's brutality. Mr. Garrett getting the hammer to the face? Yes. A lot of people are going to downplay the fact that Laurie and Michael have the sibling connection in this film. This to me though has always been this way because since I can remember the Halloween series, since I was 8 years old, it's been since Halloween H2O, so I grew up with that continuity that Michael Myers and Laurie Strode were always brother and sister. To me, it never really bothered me. I know it bothers some people that they would prefer them to be random strangers. The only thing that I'm gonna say is, her step-parents are dicks. Number one, there's a flashback sequence that reveals that Laurie Strode is actually Michael Myers' sister, and the mom's like, because I'm not your real mother. Like, first of all, who talks to their stepchild this way? And then number two, the dad in the original film is asking her to drop off a key at the Myers house. This is her brother that they've just locked away for committing murder against her older sister 15 years later, and now you want her to go drop off a key? I think they were setting Laurie up. Why didn't they even come to the hospital to visit their own daughter? Michael is killing people left and right in this film to get to Laurie. Finally, when they do meet each other, the chase scenes are suspenseful. It's lit in the most beautiful way. Laurie is so catatonic. She doesn't want to be put to sleep. The second she gets to the hospital, she's begging with Dr. Mixer to not let her be put to sleep. And you know what? This would play out the exact same way in real life. You know that there's a serial killer coming to chase you. She doesn't know it at this point that this is Michael Myers. It's revealed later by Jimmy that it is the Myers boy that escaped, and then it's later revealed in the flashbacks this is her brother. Carpenter attributes this to the fact that he was drunk writing the script at around 2 a.m. with a six-pack beside him. But you know what? I'm here for it. I do enjoy Michael and Laurie as brother and sister, and I know a lot of people harken on the fact that Laurie Strode can't do much in this movie, but she's been drugged. This is a continuation of the first film. Of course she's not going to have the stamina that she did in the original, so it is a different version of the character, but that's only because she's so beaten down. But she's still a fighter, she's still a survivor, and that's why when she goes to shoot out Michael Myers' eyes as he's chasing her into the surgery room, she gets direct hit, the bullets go in, teardrops form out of Michael's eyes, which is the most beautiful moment. Dr. Loomis is now back at the hospital because Marion Chambers has told him that that's Laurie Strode. Laurie Strode and him have a connection, that they're brother and sister. He races back to the hospital, tries to fire more slugs into Michael. Michael is not going down. Dr. Loomis, though, is giving his best Shakespeare in this movie. He's telling everybody that Michael Myers is the personification of evil. Donald Pleasence starts to sell crazy in this film, especially when they start talking about Samhain. Samhain, as it's actually pronounced, but Samhain, the Celtic festival, the Day of the Dead, the ending of the harvest. I love how they start tying the mythology of Samhain, Samhain, to Michael Myers to try and give a reason for his supernatural edge, his supernatural quality, and the fact that he's going after his sister. Michael Myers and Laurie Strode, brother and sister, do you love it? Do you hate it? Let me know. This movie is one of my favorites. I love it because Michael Myers, even the way he moves, it's so mechanical. Dick Warlock, it's a different portrayal than Nick Castle. Nick Castle was a very fluid Michael Myers. However, I love Dick Warlock's mechanical approach to the shape because it feels robotic, it feels empty, it feels void of humanity. That's because Michael was shot off the balcony by Dr. Loomis, and I do feel at that point he really did lose his humanity and just became the shape. He really just became the boogeyman, and that's why nothing can take him down. Even the fire at the end of the movie. The fire, again, foreshadowing Ben Tramer's death with the fire. Now we're at the end and Michael's burning in the hospital fire, because after Laurie goes to shoot out Michael Myers' eyes, he is still swinging his knife, going berserk in that surgery room, trying to find Laurie. They're turning on different cans of ether and nitrous, and Dr. Loomis ends up blowing up Michael Myers. Again, another great foreshadowing moment. Deputy Hunt, as Dr. Loomis, is giving on this great spiel about Michael Myers' evil and how he was just biding his time to come to Haddonfield. He takes a cigarette from Hunt and takes the lighter. He never lights the cigarette. This lighter is then used at the climax of the movie to blow up his Frankenstein monster. And that's what this was really giving me. This was giving me the Frankenstein origin story in a sense. It's the Van Helsing Dracula. It's the Mary Shelley's Frankenstein monster with Frankenstein. It's very that. He needs to go down with his monster. Dr. Loomis sacrifices himself in that hospital to go down to bring justice to Haddonfield, to try and stop Michael. But you know what? Nothing can stop Michael Myers, because he is still coming after Laurie Strode, lit ablaze like a pumpkin. And I think that's the coolest part of this film, is that it shows you Michael burning with the mask on as Mr. Sandman is playing in the background. Mr. Sandman, the exact song that opens this movie up. It really ties a sense of nostalgia to this movie. I don't know how it's connected to Michael Myers. It seems a little bit more connected to Freddy Krueger, but Mr. Sandman, Bring Me a Dream, it kind of correlates to the song that Laurie was singing too in the 1978 film, I Wish I Had You All Alone, Just the Two of Us. It's that whole melodramatic of wanting somebody in your life, and you know what? Laurie got somebody, it just wasn't who she was expecting. Are you a fan of Halloween 2? Let me know down below. To me, this is one of my favorite sequels in the Halloween franchise. Where would you put Halloween 2 in your franchise ranking? Let me know down below. Until next time, stay spooky.